Hello and welcome to Pretty Decent Productions. I'm Matthew James French. I'm an actor, writer and musician based in Brisbane, Australia. We're going to have a sit down at the table and have a chit chat. Today we're going to be having a chat about having something to prove as a performer. Hey, how you doing? Story time. I went to uni and I studied acting. I was mainly a theatre-based degree for 3 years, and as soon as I finished, I wanted to do everything and anything I could get my hands on. I felt like that was the kind of attitude I needed to succeed, and that any discomfort that I felt was just fear getting in the way. Now, I'm going to leave the names of productions and people out of this for everyone's sake, but people who know. Anyway, here we go. So, around the time I was finishing my third year of uni, I came across a short film role that I thought, okay, that sounds like something difficult to do, and therefore I should do it. And while I was in rehearsal for this film, everything seemed kind of okay while I was in pre-production, but as soon as production itself happened, I started to feel a little uncomfortable, a little uneasy about it. And all the while this was happening, I thought, that's just fear. That's just things getting in your brain in the way of doing what you're doing. And to ignore these warning signs, these bits of intuition that I had. So while we were filming, overall, things were kind of okay. There were some intimate scenes of varying levels, and again, I just thought, doesn't matter how uncomfortable I feel, I just have to do it. And to an extent, I think that can be a useful mindset to have of diving in head first, but it's not always the best option. Now, while I was in production while we were shooting, there was a particular day I remember, which it was a particularly difficult day of shooting. I just didn't feel right, and I spoke to someone. I can't remember her position necessarily in the crew, but I wanted her to be in the room for one of the scenes as a bit of an emotional anchor or support, just someone to sort of look to or to talk to between takes or scenes if I needed it. And I'm very thankful and appreciative to her for that, and you know who you are, and I thank you greatly, because I was concerned after these scenes were being shot and talked about, just the attitude on set. I was worried that these types of scenes were going to be edited together in a film that felt mildly exploitative, and again, I was being silly, thinking, all these warning signs, that's just being afraid, you just have to do it. Then when the short was released online, it started getting a fair bit of attention, and partially because it had a certain audience to an extent. Again, I'm not going to mention what it was. And some of that audience was quite supportive to the production or to me in certain ways, and some of them were negative and some of them were indifferent in a way that I would kind of expect from people watching a film. People have opinions, and that's fine. It wasn't until I saw how the film was being promoted, namely the change made to the thumbnail of the film, the poster to an extent, that I realized, oh, my concerns about this film with intimate scenes and very mildly controversial subject matter is now feeling very much exploitative. And even to this day, I think I did this a while ago, a few years actually, I still occasionally receive messages from people who have seen the film and think a certain way of me, or expect something of me because of what they saw in the film, and to an extent, there's a part of me that's, I don't know, happy or satisfied that It was believable if it was. I didn't think it was my best work at all. And some of those people were inappropriate, but I try not to let that get me down. The moral of this story is that I felt like I had something to prove when I finished uni, left uni. Or more so that I felt like, okay, now I'm beginning my acting career. It's silly because I was even listening to a podcast today, Stumble Through podcast, talking about when you go to uni to study, if you study acting, you don't begin after your degree is done. You start the moment you decide I'm going to be a performer or whatever it is. And your studies just form a part of that. So for me, I'd already been an actor for the 3 years I'd been studying it, and then I was just continuing that. But I didn't have that perspective, and quite frankly, that was part of my downfall in that particular instance. Why I share this story and what I want people to take away from it is a few things. The first is, if the actions you are taking are to prove something, check, one, if that's the reason you're doing it, and two, what are you trying to prove? Is it that you're a super duper serious actor who will do anything without listening to their gut or their friends? Are you willing to be taken advantage of? Are you going to put your foot down and say, no, this is not okay, and decide to either back out of something or to demand that things are different? Because you have to look after yourself, because not everyone gives a shit about you, sadly. And I get it. Either it can be pure arrogance and pretentiousness of someone, or it could just be indifference, or the fact that they're thinking about something else. They're not thinking about you because they have other things to worry about. So keep an eye on that for yourself. The other thing I want to bring light to is that the things that you choose to do or not do have an accumulative effect on your work and your reputation and what your work is and what it appears to be. And that can be in your head or in your body of work. And there's a part of me that's glad I did that because it taught me something, but at the same time, it's something that I don't necessarily want to show, despite the fact that it has a very large view count on YouTube, because I'm not proud of that work and what happened during it and to an extent after it. That's an odd place to be. Nowadays, I really try to look at the scripts that I'm reading or look at the people that I'm working with, and likewise, I'm sure there are people that would feel this way about me. They might be like, oh, he's in this, great, or he's in this, I don't know about him. I don't know what other people think of me in that regard, but I would have to make sure that I work hard and be nice and professional, like everyone probably should, because we are all in this together. We just have different jobs. So if you're feeling a production or anything that you're looking into doing or being asked to do seems unwise for whatever reason, maybe it's just far too much to take on the time you don't have. Maybe it's something you really don't feel comfortable with, and it's not just because it's a little bit uncomfortable, it's because it actually feels dodgy. Maybe it's because it's something that you wouldn't be proud of showing off later on, because like that, most of the shit you're going to do for a long time is for experience and for exposure. So if you do something that you're not being paid for and then you don't want to show anyone that work, you've wasted a lot of time. That's a little story about being careful. It's not to scare anyone off. It's one of the only negative things that's ever happened in this line of work that I'm still in the very early days of. And I would encourage anyone to perform, to look into a creative career or taking chances, taking risks, and doing things that you're uncomfortable with to an extent, and that's kind of up to you to gauge. So I want us all to get better and, be brave and move ahead. But sometimes that means taking the path around the questionable part of the forest. So anyway, thanks again for watching Pretty Decent Productions. My name's Matthew James French. I'm an actor, writer and musician based in Brisbane, Australia. If you liked this, please like and share this video, hit subscribe down below, and check me out on social media. On Instagram, I'm at Matthew James French and at Pretty Decent Productions. I am on YouTube here at Pretty Decent Productions. I have a website, MatthewJamesFrench.com, and SoundCloud at Maciek Mianowski. All this information will be on the screen and in the description box below. Thank you very much again for watching. I'll see you soon. Thanks very much.